Hi all, welcome back. In this video, we will create a code pipeline which gets triggered by GitHub tag. When a Git tab is created on commit, it triggers code pipeline. So let us see how to configure code pipeline for this particular use case. Let's begin. So in order to set up this code pipeline which gets triggered by Git tag, the first step of this hands-on exercise is to clone one of your GitHub repositories. So I'm going to do that. So in GitHub, I have a few repositories. I'm going to use YT Hello World. It's a simple Hello World program. I'll give the details in my cheat sheet so you can also fork my GitHub repository. So let me start by cloning the GitHub repository. And this is the Cloud Shell. You can get the Cloud Shell by clicking on this particular button. So I'm sure you already know that. So let me clone the repository into my Cloud Shell folder. So it is done. If I do ls, you can see YT Hello World. A directory has been created. So I'll go to YT Hello World and you can see there are a few files. So this is fine. Now we have to get the pipeline created. So go to code pipeline, create pipeline. Pipeline name, you can give any name, git tag pipeline. Pipeline type, let us go with the default value which is v2. Execution mode, again default value. New service role, let it create new service role. Come down, go to advanced settings, use default values everywhere. Click on next. Source, so it is asking what is the source of your code, from where I have to get the code. It is from GitHub, version 2. Version 2 actually points to a newer method of connection, that's all. So GitHub version 2, connection, if you haven't connected your code pipeline in your AWS account with GitHub before, then you have to click on connect to GitHub and then enter your GitHub user ID password and create the connection. Otherwise, I can use something which is already existing, which I created recently. So it is ready to connect. Repository name is Hello World. It is there here. And I will give these details in my cheat sheet. Default branch is master. And then code pipeline default is okay. Trigger. This is where you have to change something. Filter type will be tags. Because based on the tag which I am applying to GitHub, it should trigger my pipeline. So use tags. Include. My tag name will be something like release 1, release 2, etc. So I'll put it as release star. That is a pattern. Click on next. Build provider is AWS Code Build. And then it is asking for project creation. So if you have already created a project, there are a few projects which I have created. I can use that, but otherwise you click on create project. Project name, my proj. Come down. I'll use Ubuntu for this load build, standard 7, latest you can use. Come down, new service role, whatever name it has selected, let us go with that. Come down, insert build commands. So here, click switch to editor and then copy paste this code, which I will provide you as part of my cheat sheet. So it is a simple buildspec.yaml file. Come down. Batch configuration, nothing, you don't need to worry about that. Just click on continue to code pipeline. It will create the project and it will close this particular window as well. Okay, click on leave page. Now the project is created. Here you can see. Come down, single build is okay. Click on next. Deploy, we will skip it because we are not including deploy stage in this pipeline because we are going to test only the git tag trigger part. Once I add that git tag, it should trigger the code pipeline and build should happen. Deployment is not very important at this stage. So I have created the configuration for my code pipeline. If I click on create pipeline, it should create the pipeline plus it should start the execution, first execution. So let us wait till the first execution starts. The execution has started. So it should actually complete the activity. This is manually triggered. But then now what we need is it has to be triggered using git tag. So what do we do? Again, you have to go to Cloud Shell. So go to Cloud Shell and let us make some changes, small changes to a file. So for example, hello.txt. So I'll just make some changes, hello.txt. And today is November 23. Let me say today is March 17th. Saved. Now I'm going to push these changes back to the origin or back to GitHub along with a tag. So how do I do that? First, I have to commit this one Before that, I have to configure my username and password, but I'm just giving some example username and password. Then you have to say git add, so that it will be added to the staging area. You can just do git status. Now I have to commit it. So I will do git commit -m changes 3, because I had made some 2 changes before, that's why changes 3. Any comment you can give. So I have committed. Now just to see your commits, you can just do git log, and you can see changes 3 here. This is the latest commit. So this commit ID we require. You can copy that. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to tag this particular commit. So how do I do that? You have to use this command git tag release, then the release number and the commit ID. So it is done. Now I need to push this commit back to GitHub. So how do I do that? I have to use the git push command. But before that, you have to ensure that you have created your PAT, personal access token, in GitHub. Let me show you how to create personal access token in GitHub. Go here and click on settings, and here click on developer settings, click on personal access tokens. You can go for tokens classic. I have already created one, but you can create another one by clicking on generate token. Generate new token classic. Training expiration, you can say 30 days or 7 days, you can choose, and just select all these to say that I'll be using this token for all these activities. Okay, done. Generate token. So you got this token. You can just copy it into a notepad. Now go back to Cloud Shell, and I have to push this changes into GitHub. So I have to issue the command git push origin release 4. But before I enter this, let us go and check what happened to the pipeline. You can see that it is successful. Now what should happen is, after I push those changes, it should trigger one more execution. So if you go to history, you can see that there is only one execution. But after I push those changes, it should start one more execution here, and it should say the trigger. Here it is creation of pipeline, but the trigger should say new git tag. Let us go. Let me enter this. It is asking for the username and the password. You have to go and copy your personal access token. Copy this, come back here and paste. And when you paste it, nothing will appear here. Okay, don't get confused. It is already pasted. Enter. So it is already pushed. The changes have been pushed. Now let us go to CodePipeline and then go to pipeline. You can see that the execution has started again. Okay, it is in, you can see that here, that the first stage, it is downloading the code from source. Once it is done, it will move on to build stage. Yeah, the first part is done. Now it is in build stage. If you go to history, you can see that the second execution is happening now, and you can see that the trigger is git tag release 4 pushed in so and so repository. So this is how you actually trigger your code pipeline using a git tag. You will make all your changes and you will push that to your GitHub with a tag. And once that tag matches with the pattern which you have already entered in your code pipeline configuration, it will trigger code pipeline execution. Let's see whether it is complete. Yeah, it is complete. It is successful. This is a simple hands-on exercise which actually explains how git tag can be used for triggering your code pipeline. So please try out this exercise by yourself. I'll be back with more useful videos in DevOps. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Bye.